Hi everyone, welcome once again to my channel. Today we're going to be chatting with Ethan Behrend, who is the founder and CEO of Creative 3D Technologies, an innovative 3D printing business.
Hello, my name is Ethan Behrend. I'm the founder and CEO of Creative 3D Technologies. We make extremely capable 3D printers that are, well, extremely affordable as well.
Tell me a little bit about how this all got started.
There's quite a few aspects of the story. I mean, at least early on, what got me into 3D printing itself is I've always been very on the DIY maker side of things, and then that got me more and more into, well, those interests fed into me eventually wanting to get into 3D printing. I had 3D modeling skills, I knew coding, I knew everything else. I figured I'll buy one, print more, gifts for friends and family, things like that, more personal use case of it. And then eventually that turned to me liking to design and 3D print parts that made that 3D printer better, more than I liked just printing knickknacks and things like that. And eventually that turned to me buying the printers broken. I started fixing them up on my own, 3D printed the parts that were broken, and well, sold the printers better off because I implemented different features, different capabilities, because I just liked the hardware behind the printers themselves, and that grew and grew and grew until I had my own frustrations with the marketplace. I worked with what's now my current competition and ran to and everything to get those printers refurbished and out there. And eventually I wanted to scale that up, and I wanted to make a printer that was more capable to help me scale that up. And well, it turns out that there's a lot more opportunity for selling that printer itself than just the refurbishing of it, and that started the current business.
My question is two-part, right? The first part is, what problem do you see generally with the 3D printing market that you see that your product solves better than any other one out there?
Sure.
And then what will success look like for you?
Okay. Answering the first one, I see an issue that no one's really addressing in the 3D printing marketplace, that looking from the outside in is a little hard to identify. I think that things are very divided, and that's what I was touching on with needing one kind of printer to print one kind of part and one kind of format, material, etc. So what I see there's not too many people selling each specific type of printer for each price tier customer. So things have a lot of divide then, and I see a lot of printers, well, they're all based on each other to some extent, so they're falling into the same pitfalls. And because there's just less competition in general, because again, few people for each price point customer doing each specific type of printing, I see a lot of the innovation tends to be deferred, almost like smartphones, where year after year they'll keep re-releasing almost the same printer with just like a small incremental feature change and hoping you buy it. And I don't see that as a good method to keep this industry going. And on top of that, it's leaving customers lacking functionality, capabilities, and a lot of different aspects that could definitely be improved with 3D printers. And, well, it's limiting certain design geometries and part geometries that you're actually able to make out of your printers because, well, again, everything's separate. And if you don't need to innovate and make something like what we're doing, why do so? Especially if those niches are somewhat comfortable. So taking a different approach and trying to make solutions that are all-in-one and a lot more capable. I mean, the general idea behind Creative 3D Technologies is that we want to make products that can that can seamlessly do it all and leave people satisfied for years to come, while just being substantially, well, a lot more relevant and just in general more capable than what's already out there and a lot more versatile. So do an all-in-one solution that do what hopefully an entire suite of like separate printers typically do in one, for quite a bit less too, because that was part of the development with the production line, how we're making them themselves, and just make more quality, reliable things. So I see our solutions addressing what just hasn't necessarily directly been addressed yet, and that is that function divide. And well, also I guess a customer divide too, because with the price point, we're able to hit what I see as like the three main markets, like the sub $10,000 quote unquote consumer. And I don't think there's a typical everyday consumer of 3D printing, but the startups, hobbyists, and engineers that are in the consumer market, especially if you're generating revenue from it, that's kind of at the high end of what you'll pay for a good quality print. It'll just last you. And we just want to make things that are relevant to the majority of the market. And by ignoring the set price tiers, we can do that, bringing a lot of industrial capabilities and functionality to a much lower price tier. So I see that as definitely our greatest draw. In terms of the second part of what success would look like, success to me would be empowering people's ability to create without constraints and actually letting them, and having someone just be able to go to a printer, whether they're experienced in one, like mess with the firmware and do everything and have just a great solution that could, well, even if you're like in a university, write a whole thesis on and tinker around with, or be as simple as someone just buys a printer and drags their model in, clicks what material you use, and click print without ever having to worry about it.
Can you describe how you got into Capital Factory and also how being in the program has helped you get more to the funding side and finding investors, essentially?
Sure. I knew of Capital Factory when I was scouting Austin as a city, because essentially I could operate more efficiently out of almost anywhere in the country than Chicago. Just with all the taxation, it's not the best spot to be. So it was picking the state first and which states had good incentives to be there as a business. Texas was on that list, and then picking which city and going to the city and analyzing and seeing what resources are there and everything. Then I was applying to Capital Factory. It actually took a couple times, and once we were able to, well, better convey things, I think, or to best express where our value was for someone that's not too familiar with 3D printing, but also being able to show them that progress as well, I think helped, and that eventually got us accepted because, again, a couple application cycles. I think a lot of Capital Factory is what you make, or the experience that you'll get out of it is what you put into it and what you make of it. Going like every single event that I can go to and taking advantage of all the educational seminars and opportunities just to better enrich myself, and then also just having them as another active interest to connect me with the investment parties that they already know, and that active help has been helpful in some ways as well too. So it's been good overall. I don't regret it. I'm definitely glad I did get in, because I know it's a little tougher for companies that are pre-revenue because it's such a small percentage of pre-revenue that's in the portfolio. And because there's a lot of holes I didn't quite realize were there with my knowledge that only going to an expert can actually assist you in. And a lot of mentorship and connections I made since then have been massively helpful.
So what is your most ambitious project today?
It would be the completion of the other printer, I think. Or do you mean like more personal project that you've used?
No, I mean, it could be personal or it could be something.
Sure.
So maybe one of both. So
sure.
What is the most ambitious for the company and what's the most ambitious for you?
I think they kind of coincide. So it's a good one to mention, but definitely the next printer. We didn't necessarily want to be a one-hit wonder, especially when pitching investment. Say, oh yeah, this is our one product and we're going to throw all the IP in the world at it just to protect it and only sell that one product and go from there. And I don't want to be a serial entrepreneur that just starts a company, builds it all the way up, and then just sells it off and walks to the next thing. 3D printing is vast enough that I have a long-term interest in it where I can, no matter where my interests shift, whether I only like the design in the future, whether I only like the production, or I like something that the printer does itself and I have that interest, that my interest can easily shift and be fulfilled. Like say, because I'm in the cars right now a bit. Say again, the cars more, great, I'll just move my interest more to the automotive side of it and then fill in those positions for the other aspects instead of working myself in a job that I don't like. I see long-term relevancy in that sense. I think one of the things that I'm excited to try to print out with that is I want to be able to make the car from a movie called Redline. Very weird car and very eccentric film because everything was like big, crazy, like massive engine, wheels like right behind it, so it's like the driver sitting right in the middle. But it's a cool model, and I figured out how to try to go and legally register and everything too. I went through that work, but I'd envision nearly fully 3D printing the whole thing.
Yeah, that's the answer I was actually looking for, and I look forward to that as well.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great debut and statement piece that can encompass a lot of different types of printing while being just, again, a wild concept statement piece that you can actually make and print. So
yeah,
very interested to see how.
I think that'll be a game changer.
Yeah, very interested to see how we can do that, and especially because there's like flexible materials out there, like people are 3D printing car tires. It'd be fun to see if we can print those out too and do full cycle if it's so.
Yeah, I think that would really blow it out of the water. Yeah, well, thank you so much again for taking the time to do this interview. I've learned so much about like 3D printing and like all the different applications, many things I didn't know myself before.
Yeah.
And it's also great to learn so much about your entrepreneurial journey, some of the highs, some of the lows, and definitely your outlook towards the future. And I wish you a lot of success with Creative 3D Technologies and everything that you do in the future.
Thank you. And hopefully people can learn from the info too and help them out.